As you guys know, not everyone who asks you for help is using you, but some people build an entire relationship around exactly that. And the tricky part is, these signs rarely show up all at once. They build slowly enough that by the time you notice the pattern, you've already given out way more than you meant to. So in today's video, we're going to look at the tier list of signs someone is using you for your money. And stick around for the last one. It's less about anything they actually do, and more about how you feel, and it might honestly be the most reliable sign on this entire list. Let's get into it. To start off this list, we have the classic forgotten wallet. And on its own, this genuinely means nothing. Everyone forgets their wallet once in a while. That's just being human. But when it happens every single time you're out together, and somehow it never happens when they're with anyone else, that's not forgetfulness anymore. That's a pattern. The tell isn't the first time it happens, it's that it always seems to happen with you specifically, and it always somehow works out in their favor. Next up is when someone only actually reaches out when they need something. And this one's pretty easy to spot once you start paying attention to it, because you'll notice weeks or even months can go by with total silence, and then suddenly you get a text the second they're short on rent or need a ride somewhere. The relationship starts to feel less like two people who care about each other and more like you're on standby for whenever they need a favor. If you genuinely can't remember the last time they reached out just to check in on you, that's usually your answer right there. Next up is someone who only ever seems to show up for the things that actually benefit them. They'll never miss your birthday dinner if there's free food and drinks involved, but they're suddenly busy the second you need help moving or you need someone to show up for something that doesn't come with any kind of payoff for them. It's a quieter version of the same pattern. They're not necessarily asking you directly for money. They're just consistently present for the parts of the relationship that cost them nothing and benefit them the most. Next thing on this list is when every conversation somehow turns into asking for money or a favor that costs you something, even the ones that don't start out that way. You'll be catching up, talking about your week, and somehow by the end of it, you've agreed to cover something, lend something, or drive somewhere out of your way. It's rarely a direct ask right out of the gate. It's more that the conversation just naturally drifts there every single time. Like there's always an agenda running quietly underneath the small talk. Next up is someone who never offers to pay, even when you know for a fact they can afford to. And I'm not talking about someone who's genuinely broke right now. Life happens, and being short on cash sometimes doesn't make someone a user. What I'm talking about is someone who has the money, you know they have the money, and it just never once crosses their mind to grab the check or cover their share. That imbalance, where you're consistently the one paying and they're consistently the one who conveniently doesn't offer, adds up a lot faster than people realize. Next thing I want to point out is how someone reacts the moment you actually say no to lending them money. Because someone who respects you might be disappointed, sure, but they'll accept it and move on. Someone who's using you will guilt trip you, bring up everything they've supposedly done for you, or go quiet and cold like you did something wrong just by having a boundary. That reaction alone tells you a lot, since it shows the relationship was never really about you as a person, it was about what you were willing to give. Next thing on this list is when every single ask comes wrapped in some kind of emergency. It's never just a normal request. It's always urgent, always dire, always framed, like if you don't help right now, something terrible is going to happen. And look, real emergencies do happen to everyone sometimes. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is someone where every single ask somehow qualifies as an emergency. Because urgency is exactly what stops you from stopping, to actually think it through before you say yes. Next up is when someone seems to know exactly how much money you have, more than actually feels normal for the relationship you have with them. They know your paycheck schedule, they know when your bonus hits, they know the second anything changes in your finances. Now, some of this can be totally innocent. Close friends and partners naturally know things about each other's lives. But when that knowledge only ever seems to come up right before they need something from you, it stops looking like closeness and starts looking a lot more like tracking. Next thing on this list is noticing that someone's affection seems to spike right before or right after they need something from you. Suddenly they're extra sweet, extra attentive, extra complimentary, and it's easy to feel good about that in the moment. But if you actually track the timing, you'll often notice it clusters right around whenever they're about to ask you for something, or right after you've already given it. Genuine affection doesn't usually come with that kind of timing attached to it. Next thing I've noticed is someone who keeps incredibly detailed score of everything they've ever done for you, but somehow forgets almost everything you've done for them. They'll bring up a favor from 2 years ago like it happened yesterday, but the time you helped them move, covered their rent, or bailed them out last month barely seems to register at all. That kind of one-sided memory usually isn't an accident. It's a way of keeping you feeling like you owe them, while making sure they never feel like they owe you anything back. Next up is someone who's constantly pitching you on opportunities, an investment, a business idea, a can't-miss deal, and every single one of them somehow requires your money up front before you see anything back. Now, I'm not saying every person who talks about a business idea is trying to use you. Plenty of people genuinely want a partner or are just excited to share something. But when it's the same person over and over, and the opportunity always needs your money and never seems to actually pay out, that's not networking anymore. That's a pattern with your bank account as the target. Next thing I wish more people paid attention to is whether the money you lend actually comes back. Because someone who respects you will pay you back, even if it takes a little while, and even if they have to bring it up first. But someone who's using you will let it slide indefinitely, get vague every time you mention it, or act like you're the one being petty for even asking. If you've lost track of how much you're actually owed at this point, that's not disorganization. That's usually a sign the money was never coming back in the first place. And this is that last one I mentioned at the start. Pay attention to how you actually feel when you see their name pop up on your phone. Because with someone who genuinely cares about you, seeing their name usually feels good, even on a random Tuesday for no reason at all. But if you notice a small drop in your stomach, a little flash of dread before you even open the message, that's your gut already doing the math before your brain is caught up. Your body tends to notice these patterns before you're able to consciously name them. So if that feeling keeps showing up, it's worth actually listening to it instead of talking yourself out of it. So that concludes my tier list for signs. Someone is using you for your money. There's the obvious ones, like loans that never get repaid, and someone who only reaches out when they need something. And there's the quieter ones, like affection that seems to have suspiciously good timing. But the main thing I want you guys to take away from this is that being generous with people you care about is a good thing. The problem only starts when that generosity only ever flows in one direction. And most of the time, this isn't even about the actual dollar amount, small or large. It's about the pattern underneath it. Whether the relationship makes room for you to say no without punishment, or whether every no gets treated like a betrayal. So let me know in the comments if you've ever dealt with someone like this. And if you like this tier list and want to see more of them, hit the like, hit subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.